of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. He joins me now from New York to look at Nigeria's ratification of the AfCFTA and the future of trade on the continent. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so just yesterday, Nigeria deposited her ratification instrument with the AUC on Addis Ababa. What does this signify for Nigeria and Africa?
Yeah, thank you again. The deposit of the instrument is really something we have been waiting for a while. What it signifies is huge. For Nigeria, it opens up a market that is $2.5 trillion, a continental market of $2.5 trillion, and in terms of population, about 1.2, 1.3 billion. Now, that is massive. Now, one of the things that Nigeria has been worrying about, which we really advise against, is to hyperventilate on the state of its manufacturing and industry. This is important to do, but it's not the whole story. Nigeria dominates in trading services, in telecommunications, in banking, in Nollywood. These are areas that really are contributing about 56% to Nigeria's GDP. So why we worry about our industrial base, it's a legitimate thing to worry about. Let us capitalize as soon as January 1. Let us start capitalizing more on trade in services while we build the infrastructure to spring up our manufacturing base.
All right, the AfCFTA is to take off in January. However, we've seen hurdles along the way. The COVID-19 is prominent among them. What are those things that you see Nigeria and other African countries facing? What are the challenges, actually?
Yes, I see the COVID-19 as an opportunity, and not solely as a challenge. It's an opportunity for us to learn to prepare for the next emergency. It does not need to be a pandemic. It could be any other thing that would destabilize our economies. So that is the first challenge. Now, the whole thing now is to get ready the secretariat, to make sure the secretariat is solid and ready to spring into action. The way it is now, it is not optimal. It has taken up, the Secretary General is there with some minimal staff, but this is why African countries have to come together and support the Secretariat. We are pledged to do that as the United Nations. We will be doing that in whichever way that the Secretariat needs us. So, but this is something we do, and I'm very happy to also say that the African Capacity Building Foundation, which incidentally is led also by Nigeria, has also pledged to support the Secretariat. Otherwise, it cannot really carry out the mandate that the heads of state have asked it to do.
All right. So, what are those necessary steps Nigeria needs to take to be able to fully maximize the trade agreement? What are those steps we have not taken that you think we need to take?
Good. Now, let me start by saying that Nigeria is in a better place right now because Nigeria did something that was not done by many countries. Nigeria did a comprehensive study on the impact, the possible impact of the CFTA on its economy. So as we speak, Nigeria knows what happens if it loses some tariff. Nigeria knows what will happen if somebody violates the rules of origin or somebody tries to dump. Nigeria knows this. Nigeria has a clear idea how to mitigate those things. So that's the first advantage that Nigeria did. Secondly, Nigeria has to operationalize a national strategy. We are supporting the country in that regard, just as we are supporting 37 other African countries. What does this mean? Now that we have ratified, ratification is the beginning of the issue. It has to, for something to be ratified, you have to be able to domesticate it into your laws, to your policies, to your regulations. So ratification is just the beginning. So what Nigeria must do then is design a national strategy around whatever it considers priorities. It could be financing, it could be investment, it could be industrialization, it could be value addition, it could be rules of origin. Nigeria picks whatever it's important. It could be all of this together. And then we design an implementation strategy. You carry on the private sector and the labor unions and all the other stakeholders. And then we will give support. And we have pledged that already to the Honorable Minister of Industry, Otumba Adebayo. We've already done that. Others have done the same thing. So we will be there to hold Nigeria's hands and accompany it as it implements.
All right, there's this debate about standardization and quality of products from Nigeria as well as some other African countries. Where does this place Nigeria? What's our position?
Yeah, the issue of standardization is critical, not only to Nigeria, but Africa. We have been able to miss a lot of chances because our products are just not of the standard that can penetrate the markets that we should. I give you the example of AGOA, the US initiative that says, Africa countries, bring your product into our country duty-free. Not many countries have been able to take advantage of that. So now this is one reason we have to also support ASO. The ASO is the regional organization on standards in Africa. And then we have to support SON, the Standard Organization of Nigeria. We have also pledged to do the same, to do through Manufacturing Association. We will give support to Nigeria in that regard, because no matter how good your products are, if it cannot penetrate Western markets, what use is it? It cannot penetrate because of deficits in packaging, in the sanitary and phytosanitary standards, so many other issues. So this is not a problem that is peculiar to Nigeria. It's an African issue. We will also, as part of our support for CFTA, we will accompany Nigeria in that regard too.
All right, Mr. Adeyemi, how aware are members of the business community of the processes involved in borderless trade, as they would have to deal with packaging, payments, and a whole lot of other procedures?
This is a very crucial question that you have asked. CFTA will rise and fall with the private sector. They have to know how to take advantage of it. They have to be able to know what the pitfalls are and what the advantages are. Now, if they don't know that, they cannot take advantage of the fact that that goods can move, persons and goods can move across borders. Now, to do that, we also, the Nigerian government has to help in dealing with the trade barriers, the tariffs, and the non-tariff barriers. The non-tariff barriers are those obstacles that you cannot write down. Those things that you go through at the border when some official shakes you down, or when they delay your truck for 3 days, when it should have been cleared within 5 hours. Those things have to be taken care of, and the private sector has to know this. Has to know how do we take advantage of this? What is it for us? And this is why I am very happy that since President Buhari inaugurated the National Action Committee, which is co-chaired by the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Industry, we have been supporting them too in strategic communication, in making people understand that this thing is really good for them. Now, in keeping their minds not totally focused on the short-term tariff loss, so that they can focus on the long-term welfare gains that comes with free movement of goods, persons, and services across borders.
All right, before I let you go, perhaps you could shed more light on the whole question of the Secretariat not likely to be ready before the takeoff dates. What do you think about that?
I've heard it, but I don't know where it is coming from.
Okay.
I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago, the 7th think tank summit, when this issue came up. And then, of course, it was announced that they don't have 100% of their budget yet. But the Secretary General is a person that I have worked with in the past in this the CFTA business. He is already in Accra. He has his staff there. Some other directors are supposed to resume in January. Now, it is possible that the whole staff complement is not in place. That is also not unusual. But I am confident that the Secretariat will spring up. All we have to do is make sure that we finish the ongoing negotiations, especially the phase 2 negotiations on intellectual property, on competition policy, on investment, and decide whether the digital economy is going to be integrated into this negotiation or form a third phase of negotiation. Once we do all of that, and then, by the way, make sure that we coordinate and harmonize customs across Africa. Customs in terms of tariffs, in terms of transit, and all of this other stuff. So once we do that, I think the Secretariat will be able to do its own work, which is to coordinate, to make sure trade is in line with the rules. And then we must support. If we don't support the Secretariat, then it will fail. But because the competent people are already there, it has to be supported by the United Nations system, by multilaterals, by bilaterals, and by member states.
All right, thank you so much. I guess we have to end the conversation here. We've been speaking to Yinka Adeyemi, who is a senior trade advisor at the African Trade Policy Center. We spoke with him from New York. Thank you so much for your time on Business Express today.